Honkai, Star Rail version 4.1 tier list overview. Undead Path is finally here. The follow-up attack meta is officially back. Plus an analysis of character build priorities. Undead Path, the new generation for the new era of follow-up attacks. Her support capabilities are also top tier. Her core mechanic revolves around teammates' attacks. She can trigger additional follow-up attacks herself. She synergizes perfectly with characters like Sunday and Tebeo. A solid choice for both new and veteran players needing DPS. However, if you already have top-tier relation teams, she might not be a must-have. Her priority isn't that high. Tier T0.5. Tier 0.5. The core DPS primary damage dealer for the Elation Path. She truly defines what it means to be the strongest low investment main DPS. Top tier sustained burst damage. At E0S0, she can shred through everything when paired with Shiguan. She completely maxes out performance in all the latest stages. Current strength, tier 0. Archer, elite single target top tier single target damage, and he's free, with Sparkle's buffs and Undead Path joining the team. Archer has received a massive power spike. His overall strength is now on par with White Calamity. Current strength, tier 0.5. For early game stats, being a 1.0 character, her numbers are falling behind. A buff is coming soon to help her rise again. Current strength, tier 5. White Calamity, unbeatable in single target scenario damage, but she's starting to feel a bit reliant on E2. The recent meta hasn't been very favorable for her either. In terms of cost effectiveness, she's falling behind Elation teams. Current strength, tier 0.5. Silver Wolf provides massive def reduction for the whole team. Implant lets you ignore enemy types. Her versatility has improved after the buffs. Current strength, tier 2. Well, God tier in Ether battle. Unbeatable within the Ether battle game. Unfortunately, he falls flat in actual combat. Tier 4. Tier 1D. The force auto battle mechanic of force autoplay is up to you. At E0S0, he's already showing signs of falling off. Current strength, tier 1. Gallagher, still viable in alternative he can still get the job done. Current strength, tier 2. Sparkle, skill point recovery ability to generate significant improvement as skill points can now be stored for later. The days of suffering from skill point starvation are officially over. Tier strength, tier 0.5. Can trigger extra settlements after exceeding the cap. Massive boost to overall team DPS and skill rotations. Current strength, tier 1. Yanqing, damage is just too low. Do not invest in this character. Tier T5. Bailu, pure healer but lacks any form of cleanse. Use her as a temporary placeholder if you're desperate for a sustain. Tier T4. Robin, a solid traditional support with ATK buffs and action advance. Works great in White Calamity, Fei Xiao, and follow-up teams. Current strength, tier 1. Sampo, a 4-star dot character. A tier feels amazing in free scenario content with 3 enemies. Gets a huge boost when paired with Xilian. No joke, she's the strongest character for Ether battle. Current strength, tier 3. Eternal Night Moon doubles the team's Memoria 100 damage boost to Memoria effects. Helps compensate for single target damage out. The more remembrance characters on the team, the higher the buff. The absolute best teammate for Xia Dai. Even as a solo carry, she's unbeatable. Tier T0. Nakisha, the low investment F2 powerhouse for budget conscious players. Applies all weaknesses to the enemy. Very effective for single target. Ceiling is even higher when paired with Xilian. Current strength, T0.5. Sapphire seems to provide none of it is actually top tier. Current strength, tier 1. Blade receives significant buffs, but his base kit is just his fundamental mechanics are holding him back. Still not quite viable for high-level play. Tier T3. If you get lucky with damage potential, damage skill is on your side. Best used for fun or casual play. Tier T4. Yuli struggles in high difficulty content. Very dependent on whether the enemies take multiple actions. Current strength, tier 2. Fuxian, having a hard time surviving is becoming a struggle for her. Doesn't fit into any of the current meta teams. Tier T3. Galia can trigger super great damage without even breaking the traditional break requirements. Ultimate implants weaknesses and reduces enemy DEF. Her personal damage numbers are quite solid. However, her best teammates are all outdated. Current strength, T0.5. Aventurin, completely powerful, just don't compare anymore. He's lost his place in follow-up teams. Time to venture. T2. Tier 2. For damage output, her numbers just don't hero for modern standards. Not recommended for new players. Plus, her mechanics don't synergize well or compatibility with the new meta units. Current strength, tier 2. Firefly, making a massive comeback back in the meta. With Dahlia's ultimate, she can ULT extremely fast ultimate rotation. Combine that with some extra DMG buffs, and her overall output has increased by 100. Her strength has returned to tier 1. Serval, decent performance and solid choice for clearing waves. With a maxed out build, you can push capable of reaching the higher tiers of content. Current strength, tier 4. Cleat, the new utility can allow teammates to copy and reuse skill effects. Basically glued to White Calamity and Nakisha. Tier current strength, 0.5. Tier 0.5. Big Herda, a beast in pure extremely powerful for wave clearing. Starting to struggle in Apocalyptic Shadow and Mock. Current strength, tier 1. Jeopard, an outdated primitive character completely left behind by the meta. Current strength, tier 5. Lingsha, her healing is a bit underwhelming with high incoming damage, but she still has a stable spot in the new job as a sustain is still secure for now. Current strength, tier 1. Trailblazer Remembrance, a versatile support advance and utility buffs, mainly fits into most 3.0 era main DPS teams. Tier J1 can solo clear a one-woman army for wave content. Struggles a lot in Apocalyptic Shadow and current strength, tier 2. Argent, he's officially slightly benched in the current meta. Even clearing small mobs in the latest pure fiction is a struggle. Current strength, tier 3. Fei Xiao received a massive boost from new character in Undead Path. Can trigger double stacks for Fei Xiao, but very idle and heavy. She really needs those constellations to shine. Finally viable once you hit E2. Current strength, tier 2. Trailblazer Destruction. Don't waste your resources. Tier T5. Tier 5. AoE Def Shred, a solid damage and low, very efficient with her skill points, but her base stats are just too low now. Tier T4. Kimiko, relying on breaking shields and following, barely usable for F2P players in pure fiction. Tier T4. Currently she's lost her primary niche. Even her treasure hunting role was taken by Big Herda. Tier T4. Hestia, the new generation of fresh powerhouse for duty-focused teams. Extremely strong when paired with Kafka and Black Swan. This trio makes for a formidable lineup. Current strength, tier 0.5. Can apply exposed to unique mechanic that aids in breaking enemies. Currently a staple in break-focused teams. Tier Xia Dai, still a top remains an absolute powerhouse in the current version. Top tier damage, and her off-field revive. Anyone who's used her knows how good she is. The Xia Dai win meta is still the best answer for most content. High investment teams are currently on par with not trailing behind the Elation meta at all. Current strength, tier 0. Bronya, the classic standard, still a solid support from the permanent pool. Can serve as a budget alternative for Cleat in White Calamity teams. Current strength, tier 3. Dr. Ratio, the former everyone should have him by now. Nowadays, he's only slightly better than standard DPS units. Current strength, tier 4. Tungwong, a physical preservation protecting the team. Provides god tier shields that make the team invincible. Slots perfectly into the new Undead Path follow-up. Acts as the ultimate bodyguard for the squad. Current strength, tier 0.5. Very high raw, still put out massive heals. Can be used as a budget sustain for Xia Dai. A decent alternative for that slot. Tier T3. The single target Zelios. You don't need to worry about manual play or rotations. However, his priority is lower than Firefly's. Current strength, tier 3. Acheron, E0S0 base version has been left behind. Even with high investment, she's not what she used to. Pairing her with Hestia can raise her ceiling a bit. But it's just not cost effective. Tier T2 with Sunday, the Lightning Lord can keep up to his action economy. His damage output is actually decent now with Sunday, Tinghwan, and Undead Path. He can almost keep up with Archer. Tier T2, Jinglu, a main DPS damage revolves around HP mechanics, very dependent on Tebeo and Fengjin as supports. Tier T2, if your Archer can serve as a barely acceptable substitute. Current strength, Tier 5. Jojo, honestly, he's barely better than a 4-star. His performance is quite underwhelming. He's not even a must-have for Acheron teams anymore. Tier Current strength, Tier 3, Hua, the energy regenerating specialized supports. She's a good temporary use her to bridge the gap in your roster. Tier T2, March 7, a great F2P sub for transitioning into the mid-game. You can E6 her for free, but she's still just Tier T4. Sunday, his numbers are incredibly high. The classic DMG buff, Action Advance, and Energy Trio is still elite, useful for both White Calamity and new follow-up teams. Current strength, Tier 0.5. Good at taunting, her ability to take hits and strike back is solid. But Yumi and Wandi are simply better choices. Tier T4, Tier 4. Fengjin, AoE, a top tier healer with great ultimate free of debuff. Her speed tier is absolutely ridiculous. The ultimate universal sustain for hitting her is like a cheat code for your account. Current strength, Tier 0. Tebeo, the evergreen character that will likely stay meta for a long universal unit that fits with any DPS. The value of her Eidolons is beyond question. She'll likely stay relevant until 5.0. Tier T0, choice for helping beginners progress. Her ATK and energy buffs are very versatile. Current strength, Tier T3. Inhibitor Looney. He has no longer a top tier choice for modern content. His E2S1 glory days are a thing of the past. Tier T3. 1 May. She's even lost her primary niche has been taken over. She's now just a second tier general support. Tier Current strength, Tier 2. Most, a decent teammate needs max constellations to be effective. He has no place in any other team comps. Tier T4. Kafka, her AoE capability is massive target damage, capable of quickly detonating dots on all enemies. One of the core pillars of the new dot meta. Current strength T1, Tier 1. Trailblazer Fire has no place in its viable role. Shields are too weak to protect the team in high-level content. Current strength Tier 5. Saber, a win DPS powerhouse for multiple damage numbers are very impressive. Pair her with Sunday or Tebeo. To keep her ultimate active constantly, her damage output is excellent. Tier Trailblazer Harmony. The break can be used as a substitute if you're missing a decent budget option for break teams. Tier T3. A godsend for no one of the best 3 units available. A solid F2P choice for pure fiction. Tier T3 can instantly incredible mechanics for burst damage. All golden descending characters provide very specialized team benefits. Her E2 numbers are absolutely explosive. A god tier support for Xiaodai teams. Tier T0.5, the specialized support for relation-focused teams, allows for extra aha. Moment triggers, elation level, and skill point generation. The essential engine for any elation team without her. Currently, Sparkle and Shiguan are the meta units of the current version. Current strength, Tier 0. And that's all for today's Honkai Star Rail video. Everything you need to know about version 4.1. Thanks for watching.